Hey guys, what's going on? ZeroArmada here with the second part of the secondary build guide video. Keep in mind, just like the first part, everything's pretty much subject to my own playstyle. There's nothing really consensus in terms of an OP build or anything like that. Most of the time, you're just going to hopefully get something out of the video and you can kind of apply it to your own playstyle. And as an example, and something I referred to in the first video, I see a secondary as a last resort. When I can't reload in time with my primary, or when I can't pull out the primary weapon, or I don't have enough bullets in my primary weapon and I have to use something else, that's really the only time I resort to my secondary weapon. And with that in mind, 9 times out of 10, if I'm pulling out my secondary weapon, I've done some sort of damage to the enemy opponent. And with that in mind, pretty much just go as much damage as possible with my secondary, finish them off as fast as I can without having to worry about the ease of use of the recoil and spread kicking in from consecutive shots from your secondary receiver. So that's kind of my mindset. And with that in mind, we're going to start with the light pistol. With the Copperhead AM54. The light pistol in general, it's got great spread values all across the board. So pretty much just focused on recoil in this case. Spread was kind of in the back of my mind. Went prioritize damage, then recoil, then spread. So we went with the recoil Copperhead muzzle, got the high damage V2 Z900 Mod barrel. Most of the pistols you want to go with the extended mag just for the extra ammunition, because most of the secondaries, especially the pistol ones, are really limited on ammo in most cases. Went with the ELO-Tech R6 scope, kind of preferential, and then we went with the low recoil scope, or stock, the V2 Folding CQC/B. You could go with the AC-10 Sharp. The problem is it ridiculously increases your spread move. That's kind of why I wanted to avoid it. I figured it would be great and kind of reasonable to take some penalty and spread all across the board, but still have good recoil and still preserve the spread move as much as I can and kind of keep that still reasonable. So that's why I went with the V2 Folding, but you can experiment with a lot of different recoil stocks if you want. So for the second build, we have the heavy pistol, basically a beefier and more harder to control version of the light pistol. Pretty much everything with spread and recoil is a little bit harder to handle than the light pistol. So kind of the theory with this is just to mitigate both spread and recoil, kind of keep them balanced as much as possible. Don't shoot for one too much on either end. So damage and then spread and recoil are equally taken care of with this build. So we have the ArmCom 2-step AM22 muzzle, the V2 Z900 Mod barrel again, and then, like I said, probably want to go with the extended magazine for the most of the pistols. Scope preferential with the ELO-Tech in this case. And then for the stock, kind of went with the balanced stock. Went with the Taurex ACP Mod 0, which has good reductions in both spread and recoil alike. So next build we have is pretty much the Burstfire pistol. Really, you can only change your muzzle and your magazine and your scope if you want to count that. So there's not really much you can kind of play around with the Burstfire pistol. But for me, kind of a similar thing, just looking at the stats across the board, recoil was the one thing that kind of popped up as being the predominantly harder stat in terms of the default stats of ease of use for the Burstfire pistol. So we went with the QDSS9 just for low recoil. I kind of felt it was more okay to sacrifice a bit of damage in this case, but also the Copperhead would be a good choice for a muzzle for recoil. Magazine, extended mag, of course, probably. Scope, for the Burstfire, you're probably better off with something like a CQC type of a scope, so the ELO-Tech R6 is a good choice. Preferential, as always. So second to last build we have is the Revolver. I really like the sniper scope, the ESK-VL sniper scope on the Revolver. I think you can pretty much hip fire relatively easily in most cases, and the sniper scope's just great for long range shots. Just hitting people in the face with it's pretty satisfying. So I'd probably mess around with that. If you're not comfortable with a sniper scope with a huge zoom, you can definitely try something more comfortable like the Con's ELO-Tech, or the Rival is also a good choice as well. Magazine, really it's up to you. For a high damage secondary like the Revolver, I prefer my damage up front, so probably either the default magazine or the Magnum rounds are good choices. I'm just not a fan of the damage over time capabilities of the elemental ammos in general, so I just kind of stick with the damage up front in this case. And then lastly, we have the machine pistol. This thing was a really OP back in the day. It's kind of fallen off in favor of some other secondaries like the shotgun predominantly, but kind of a similar aspect. You have ridiculously higher spread hip and spread move as compared to spread aim, and then the recoil is still pretty high on it as well. So with that in mind, and with the fact that you only have really the muzzle that you can customize, there's really a limited amount of things you can do to it to kind of make it your type of a weapon. And with that in mind, pretty much just go for a high damage muzzle, the Copperhead, or the two-step, and you're pretty much good to go. Extended magazine on the machine pistol, I think 20 bullets, which is the default, and the 850 fire rate, you're gonna run out of bullets in like 5 seconds real quickly. So you definitely really want to go for the extended magazine, especially for the machine pistol. And then a CQC type of a scope like the RC or the R6 or the Hollow 2 are good choices, I think, for the machine pistol. So that's pretty much it for the secondary build guides. Hopefully you guys got something out of it. There's a lot of different receivers, but most of them have limited capabilities for what you can customize. But if you have any questions or comments, or you need me to elaborate on anything else, definitely leave a comment down below. And thanks for watching as always, guys. Much appreciated.